Hey, house guests, welcome to today's Big Brother 23 updates and spoilers. Happy Friday. I hope you all survived the double last night. Our house guests of the day are Taylor Harris and Tiffany Kangas. Thank you both so much for the support. We could not do this without you, and we appreciate it so, so much. So thank you again. I just realized I don't have my pillow on my lap. Oh, I feel so weird now. But if you guys want to be house guests today, there's still time left this season, and you just got to follow our Patreon link in the info box below. It's only $1 for a holla. What do I do with my arms? I also want to thank yesterday's super chatters because that is also a fantastic way to support this channel and keep us doing what we're doing. So Alexandra, Alberts, John S., and Vajra, thank you all so much for the super chats yesterday. All right, so let's get started. I'm glad you guys are all here. Last night, Tiffany was evicted by a vote of 3-0. Then we saw Azah won HOH. She put up Xavier and Hannah because she was still in denial that the three guys are working together. So then Kyland won the power veto, used it on Xavier. I'm sorry, but like Kyland deserves to lose for that. Like if he loses in the end because of this, that's on him, right? That was such an unnecessary move and just like so extra. Kyland had the chance to make a huge move, but he didn't go for it. So, yeah. I mean, Azah had a chance to make a big move. Kyland had a chance to make a big move. But, oh well. So, anyway, Big D and Hannah were up on the block. And Hannah was evicted by a vote of 2-0. So, now we're down to the final four. We've got Xavier, Kyland, Azah, and Big D left. Wow, it's a really fun group. Oh, my God. So, then the feeds came back earlier than expected. They came back after the show ended on the East Coast. And I was like, wow, 3 extra hours of this. But just to remind you guys, too, when the feeds came back, it wasn't like it was right after the double because the double was pre-taped. The double actually happened on Wednesday. So they were already like moved past that by the time the feeds came back. They already had the next HOH competition, which Xavier won. And they already did the nominations as well. And Azah and Kyland are up on the block. So just a reminder, nominations don't really matter at Final Four because it all comes down to who wins the power veto. There's only one person voting to evict this week. So nominations, no biggie. All right. So when the feeds came back, Azah was alone in the yacht club bedroom, and she's looking pretty upset. Is she finally realizing that the guys, including her best friend Big D, played her? Yeah. So Xavier was off camera for a while, but he was chilling by himself in the HOH room. And then Kyland and Big D were chatting in the kitchen. And Big D says, I tried to talk to Azah, but she's still mad at me. He says, the good thing for you, Kyland, if Azah wins the power veto, she's not going to take me anymore. And Kyland's like, I think she would still take you because she knows she has a better shot at making it to final 2 with you than with me. So Big D says, I'm not going to be kissing anyone's ass moving forward. If you want me, you want me. If you don't, you don't. Was that some sort of a message to Kyland? Is it like a double entendre, like in the game and romantically? But anyway, Big D says Azah would not keep him if she won the power veto because he just told Azah that he's willing to get rid of her. Oof. But seriously, like how many times did Tiffany and Hannah warn Azah about this? And she just stayed with the guys. She didn't want to hear it. So later, Big D was talking to the cameras in the living room, and he's like, wow, I made it to the top 4 on Big Brother. People dream about this. I am this close to top 3 now. It's just one competition away, and I have to win it. It's a must. And then after saying he has to win it, he said, I need Xavier to win this, or me. He says, I need a spot at the end, and I definitely... I deserve a spot at the end, and I definitely deserve a spot in the top 3. Why, though? Why do you think that you deserve to make it to the end? What have you actually done this season? It drives me wild. But Azza joins him after a while, and Big D tells Azza, I'm proud of you. And Azza's like, proud of me for what? She's obviously like not super psyched to be with Big D right now, but Big D says, I'm just happy. And Azza's like, why are you happy? And Big D says, ooh, girl, this tone, I'm scared. I'm so scared of you right now. He says, nothing is more scarier than a black woman who's on a mission. Is that why you're getting rid of all the women? Like, oh my God. So then Azza like kind of lightens the mood and she's like, on a mission for what? That dick? And so that makes them both laugh. And then Big D's asking, like, how did we get here? And Azza says, I don't know. I believe she said, by the grace of God. You know Julie's going to be eating that up, except she doesn't watch live feeds. So if it doesn't make the show, forget it. But anyway, Big D tells Azza he loves her, and Azza's like, I love you too. And Big D says, I don't know what I'm going to do if I get the veto this week. He says, I'm not settled on taking this mother effer. He's talking about Kyland. He says, I don't know what I'm going to do. And Azza says, okay. So Big D says, I'm sorry for how I've been. I mean, he hasn't been a great friend here. And Azza says, it's okay. Oh my God. It's okay. So Azza gets called to the diary room a few minutes later, and Big D is talking to Xavier and Kyland, and Big D says, Azza's pissed right now. And Xavier's like, why is she mad? What did you do now? And Big D says, because I said that I was considering sending her home this week if it's up to me. Why would you do that? Why would you not at least wait until after the veto? Like, what are you actually thinking? So Xavier's like, maybe stop talking about it. You know, the more you bring it up, the worse it gets. So maybe just like stop. But Big D says, I shot myself in the foot. I told her that I had to deal with you. I told her I had to deal with Kyland. To be fair, Big D said this to Azza a few days ago, like before the double eviction. And she just like didn't take that to mean Big D was not prioritizing her in this game. Like he literally told her, I have a deal with Kai, I have a deal with Xavier. We have an understanding. So clearly he's putting the deals above the understanding. But Big D says, yeah, Azza said, well, I guess that means I'm going home unless I win the veto. And Big D told her, like, yeah. Ooh, okay, so Big D says, now if she wins this veto, she's going to take Kyland instead of me. I feel like Azza still would pick Big D over Kyland. But Xavier's like, no. Azza would still take you over Kyland. So Kyland is off in another room by this point, and Big D is asking Xavier, do you have a final 2 deal with Kyland? And we know that he does. They have their like gentleman alliance, whatever. So Xavier downplays it, and he's like, we just link up, we like sync up because we're both strong competitors, you know? It's not like this official thing or anything that has a name. So Xavier and Big D are both saying that they would take each other to the final 2. They've had a final 2 deal for a long time now. They are not taking Kyland. So yeah, I have to say, as annoying as it would be to see Big D get second place after doing pretty much nothing this season, it would be hilarious to see Xavier cut Kyland at the final 3 after Kyland has been like obsessively wanting to bring Xavier to the end. And also just to see what Big D would say during the jury questioning. Like, I'm really curious how he would defend his game. I mean, really, like, it would be interesting to see. But anyway, later, Big D and Xavier are chatting in the HOH room. And Xavier's like, all right, look, I said that I would try to get you to the final 2. And that's what my focus is. If that's through Azza or Kyland staying, like, I don't really care. Oh, okay. So Xavier says, for me, it's just who gives us the best chance of getting to those final 2 chairs. He says, I see pros and cons to both. And he says, I think both of us could beat Azza in any of the final HOH competitions. I don't know about that. But he also says, I think that if Kyland stays, I could still beat Kai. And I think that you could too, but it would be harder for you. I think he's being nice about that. But Big D says, I never committed to anything with Ozza. And Xavier's like, we do have a final 3 deal with her. And Big D says, yeah, well, Ozza has a final 3 deal with Kylan too. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot. Only Big D is allowed to have deals with everyone. Nobody else can play like that. But Xavier says we need to take the emotion out of this decision and really think objectively about what's going to be best for our games and getting us to the final 2. So Big D is talking some nonsense about how he's done so much for Ozza and Kylan to get them both to this point. Like, what? I wish for once he would just list off the things that he thinks he's done. He always gives like these general answers like, oh, I lied to people, I manipulated, I supported people. When? Like, what were you doing? But Xavier brings up, if we do have the chance to take out Kylan this week, maybe we should go for it. Oh, okay. I'm into this. Love it. I like to see some actual like logical thinking gameplay here. So I think if Xavier takes out big Kylan this week, that would be a big move on his resume. But anyway, Big D he seems kind of worried about either of them sitting up next to Ozza in the final 2. Oh my God. It's funny because Ozza is the only person that Big D would actually have a chance against in the final 2. But he doesn't want to go there with her because he's so terrified that all of the women would just automatically vote for Ozza to win. So Xavier keeps pushing that Kylan is way more likely to beat them in competitions than Ozza. And then Xavier starts talking about the 3-part final HOH competition and what their chances are in that. And Big D is like, wait. How does this work in? Like, he didn't understand how the final HOH happens. He did know that it was like more than one competition, but he didn't realize that like whoever wins the first part advances to part 3, and then part 2 is the 2 losers facing off against each other. Like, he thought they all just like were in every single competition, but how would that work? So Xavier explains it, and then Big D says, oh, wow, okay, so we need to take all of this into consideration. And Xavier keeps saying, like, it makes sense for us to take a person to the final 3 that we can beat. And Big D is like, all right, well, I'll do what you want. And Xavier's like, no, we need to make this decision together. So Xavier keeps pushing that Kylan should go, which makes a lot of sense. But Big D is definitely resistant to it. He is more upset about potentially sending out Kylan, who he would lose to, than keeping his best friend, Ozza, who he would actually have a chance against. But we'll see what happens with the power veto, right? It's going to depend on who has that. So today, Big D was walking back. Actually, I want to real quick give a shout out. I just remembered. So I couldn't even find that Xavier and Big D conversation from last night. But then I asked on Twitter and someone was able to give me a timestamp and help me out. So I wanted to, okay. Linda T, I love my cats 8 on Twitter. Thank you so much for giving me the timestamp because that really helped me out. But anyway, today, Big D is walking back a lot of what he said to Ozza yesterday. Oh my God. Now he's telling her about this conversation that he had with Kylan, where he asked Kai if he would bring Big D to the final 2 if he wins the final 3 HOH. And Kylan, I guess, gave him some non-answer, basically told Big D that he's vulnerable right now because they haven't played the power veto yet. So he doesn't want to like give an answer to that without knowing who is going to be holding the power veto. Yikes, that's not what you want to hear. So Big D was not happy about that. And Big D is telling Ozza, I can't pick a man over my best friend. Super convenient now that Xavier is saying that Kylan has to go. So now Big D's like, Ozza, like, you're my best friend. I could never get rid of you. What? So Xavier knows that Big D has been having these conversations with Ozza and Kylan. And Xavier is not happy that Big D has been talking so much game with Ozza and Kylan before the power veto competition. He tells him, like, you need to, like, stop. Just don't be having these conversations until after we know who won the power of veto. So I'm not sure if the POV competition is today or tomorrow. Usually it's on a Saturday, but because this is like the end game, they might do it today. I have no idea. But if you guys want to check back later, if they do have the competition, I will post the results in the info for this spoiler. And if not, then I guess it's happening tomorrow. So let me know what you guys think about all this in the comments. I would like to see Xavier make some moves here, right? Hello. Bowie! Come on in, big puppy.
Who would you like to see?
Yeah.
Veto?
I mean, I guess anyone except for Kylan at this point, right?
You want to see Xavier win the power of veto?
Well, Xavier wants Kylan out.
Is he just saying that?
I don't think so. I think he's serious about it. So, I don't know. We'll see.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So, Chad from SNL. So, I want to thank today's super chatters because you guys are amazing. Nina Sosa. Oh, was it your birthday yesterday? Oh, happy belated. And thank you so much for the super chat. I hope you had a great birthday. Jody Cortez, thank you so much. And Jody says, Big D thinking he has masterminded the whole game puppet show. Yeah, right? He's another Raven, I guess. Let's see. Green Thrifty Life. Thank you so much for the super chat. And they said, thank you for all you do. Been watching for years. Thank you for sticking with us. Yeah, when you guys come back year after year, that really means a lot to us. Susie Jill, thank you so much. Is this Villy King?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much for the super chat. Kennedy Miller, thank you so much for the super chat. And they said, Azza! Yeah, she killed me last night. That was terrible. Danny, thank you so much for the super chat. And Danny says, hi, Maddie, not BB related, but may I ask if you self-published or did you have a publishing house for your cookbook? That's a good question. We actually had a publisher for our cookbook, which was not something that we were expecting to happen. But then this year has been wild and crazy. So
expect the unexpected.
Yeah, we are very happy to have a publisher for our cookbook. And if you guys don't have your own copy already, we have a link in the info box below, Plant-Based Air Fryer Cookbook. We've got some really delicious recipes in there, really easy to make. And if you are new to a plant-based diet, these are very simple recipes.
You don't have to be vegan.
You don't have to be vegan to enjoy. Yeah. Thank you, Danny. And Sheena, thank you so much for the super chat. He says, hoping Kylan wins the veto. Keep up the awesome work. Sheena. No, I'm just kidding.
Sheena.
Yeah. I mean, it would be interesting to see if Kylan would actually follow through and take Xavier to the final two, because that would just be super cringe.
I really think he would.
What is he thinking? It's just too much. But thank you, Sheena.
He's a gentleman.
Yeah, the gentleman. And Vajra, thank you so much for the super chat. Let me just write you down so you're on here for tomorrow. And Vajra says, how dare you? How dare you express your own personal opinions? I'll be sending a pre-approved list of comments you're allowed to say. Just thank you for saying that, Vajra. Oh my God. It's not all of you guys, so I don't want to be like, I can't believe what everybody's been saying this season. But I do have to say, like, some people this season are really wilding out in the comments, and it's a bit much. Like, everybody needs to calm down.
It's a game.
Yeah. It's a lot. But anyway, it also boggles my mind that people think that I'm not allowed to express my own opinions on our YouTube channel. Like, this is not CNN. Nobody ever said that this was going to be 100% not biased.
This is not a democracy. It's a dictatorship.
So I'm not really sure what people are thinking with that. But anyway, that's it. So thank you all so much for being here. Enough already. Thank you all so much for being here. We will see you tomorrow. Hopefully we'll have some veto results by then. And until next time, much love. Bye. Oops. Bye.